Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Whatnauts Reactor Corps. This is number 27, and this week we are going to be talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 4. I'm excited to dive into all of that. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you?
Doing good. I got new color changing lights to play with.
You did. Sounding real fancy there.
It's thrilling.
It really is. It's fun when you can make this red and blue and purple and all that.
Yeah, I can cycle through the colors of the American flag.
Red and blue and purple, you know.
Right. I can have this place like all purple and green when She-Hulk premieres. Like I can theme these to anything we're doing.
Exactly. Endless possibilities. Ah, man. It's been a good week. I'm excited that this is the start of the weekend. I think we had a great start with Falcon and the Winter Soldier here. This was an intense one, to say the least.
It was a lot.
I think it was shocking from my end, maybe a little expected of like, they're finally getting there. Okay, here we go. But yeah, still shocking to see it happen.
Yeah.
I liked this one a lot. I did think it had like a really, really good fight scene, but I think was maybe one of the slower episodes. Well, I don't know. It had a couple good fight scenes, but it still felt like that. Like, this is not the climax. It's right before that where they're still doing some connective tissue stuff. But now we have one of the big reveals of the show, which isn't really a big reveal. Strange. But what did you think of this one? I think it was entitled "The World Is Watching."
It absolutely was. I watched too. It's
sure did.
It is.
Hopefully you did.
yeah. It is distressing advancements, but a couple. It's still interesting. Everything the show does is still fascinating. Like even the antagonistic characters are very complex. I like how complex they allow everybody to be. Like I think back to WandaVision, which I enjoyed a lot. I still really dug WandaVision, but Hayward is like the second he's on screen, you're like, that's the bad guy. And he's like this very one note, like spooky businessman bad guy the entire time.
Yeah.
And the villains in this show, not to, force the two in a comparison against each other. It's just these are the two examples of this thing we have so far. These villains are very antagonist. Villains feels a little strong for some of them. They've got so much going on. They've got so much that where you're like, that's a bad idea. And other points where they're like, I like that part about you. I wish that aspect of you would flourish. I don't know if it will.
We'll see. We have 2 more left after this, but yeah, I liked this one a lot. So this one started out with a flashback to Winter Soldier. I think it said 6 years ago. So this is before the snap, and they are working on getting his his like Nazi Hydra brainwash out of him, and he is having a real emotional moment to test and see if their whole training thing worked, and they said all the code words and nothing. And he is scared and elated and angry and happy, like all at once. It's a beautiful scene. It was very, very touching. I was just like, I don't know what to feel right now because I'm so anxious, but I'm also happy that I'm like, I don't have, but I'm not necessarily showing I'm happy in regular ways.
I wish somebody would have given him a hug, but I don't think the Dora Milaje hug. It probably hurts. They're probably covered in things that are
now
sharp.
Group hug. Let's get in here. Let's get in here. that would be fun. But I enjoyed that scene a lot. But then we pick back up in modern day times, which is, I guess, in the future from where
it's like
we are here,
2023.
right? Yeah. And we we see Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Baron Zemo kind of trying to figure out what to do next, and we see John Walker, this new Captain America, kind of catch up with them and be like, guys, what the hell? That man needs to be arrested. What are you guys doing? Like, we can't do it the way you guys are doing it. Even though that they're also not supposed to be there, they've gone kind of off books there. What did you think of this whole situation with now all the major players are kind of right there?
I didn't like that he was like yelling in the middle of a public street. Like he says shit at one point, and I'm like, there are kids around. I know we're in Europe and maybe like shit doesn't mean anything to a kid who doesn't speak English, but Jonathan, come on. Watch your language, sir. He's
Jonathan, middle name Walker. What? Watch your mouth. Right. What does they say? Yeah, we needed someone to be there to say language, Cap, right? But there is no one
supposed to be him.
There, right? So,
Man, I wish Zemo would have brought his butler. I bet that guy would have called him out on it.
Right.
I trust him to be
language,
like, watch proper language. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange seeing them all together, but you instantly see that, like, oh, this does not work. Like, these guys don't agree. Or, well, they all kind of agree, except for John Walker. He's the only one that's like, we need to do it this one way. And everyone's like, well, no, that's not a good idea. We might not agree exactly on how to do it, but we know that one's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, it's his Battlestar. It's his faithful sidekick partner, best friend. That's like, actually, buddy, let's calm down there. Which I think is a really poignant moment. In that scene where he's like, it's very clear that Captain America is the odd one out now. And everyone's like, uh-oh, this is not good. So, but yeah, we got the introduction of the Dora Milaje in number 3, and they are back. There is a point where they come back into this and are like, all right, time is up. You had your I think they said like 8 hours.
Yeah, I kept waiting for the 8 hours to be up because I'm like, surely more time than that has happened by now.
Yeah. And they come back and they're like, all right, we're here for Baron Zemo. And this is, I think, the first big fight scene of the
well, there's the one
thing here.
The one of the episode.
Well, no. Well, the first big one. We have this one, and then the one after that when we find out some things. Yeah.
I want to say that I like that after Bucky has that meeting with the Dora Milaje, he goes inside and tells Sam that.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, but he just immediately is like, hey, the Dora Milaje are here. They want him.
Yeah, and like Zemo, too. He's like, yeah, they want to come get you, which is something I've been hoping for, which is something I see as one of the arcs of the show is we started the first episode. The two main characters do not speak to each other. It's clear that they have communication problems. And even in this small way, partially just to move the plot along, partially because I guess there's not that much of a practical reason for him to not reveal this. But the fact that he walks in and just says the actual truth that needs to be communicated immediately. Like, good job, Bucky. That's progress.
There you go. Yeah, that is progress indeed. I think one of the most interesting parts of this one was actually the smaller conversations that were happening in this one. I really enjoyed the moment between Zemo and the Falcon when he's like, hypothetically, if you were offered this serum, would you take it? And immediately Sam's like, no. And then like Zemo like perks up and is like you didn't hesitate with that. That's interesting. And I in a weird way, I think that gained some points. That gained Sam some points from Zemo of like, hey, I respect that you would just say no, and like you won't even consider it. But then we see that conversation mirrored with John Walker and Battlestar. I don't remember his actual name.
Lamar Hoskins.
Hoskins, I believe. Yeah,
like Bob Hoskins.
There you go. That's the one. And immediately Battlestar is like, yes, absolutely. Like he's on the opposite side of the spectrum, but he's good also reasons. In the right place. Yeah, of just like think about how many more lives we could save with that kind of power, right? And I think saying something like that is your heart's in the right place. I don't know if they've necessarily thought it through, because Baron Zemo also brings up an interesting point and makes a connection between superheroes and supremacy, right? Where the Nazis were toying around with this idea of like, hey, let's build a super soldier. And then America took that and created the superhero, right? We see that in real life in the way that comic books played out. Just like, let's, hoorah, we have superpowers on our end and we'll use them for good. But in a more modern sense, America is also dealing with a lot of the ideas of supremacy within our government and stuff like that. So it's an interesting line to walk that they just immediately are supporters of that, seemingly without thinking about it. Did you catch that? Did you have a response to all of that?
Yeah, we read the comic book Irredeemable not too long ago, which is about a superpowered being. It's about a superhero who's like the paragon of the world. He's incredibly powerful and incredibly good, and everybody looks up to him. And the more you get into this guy's life, and like I said, he was born with powers. This wasn't like a Steve Rogers scenario where he chose to go through an experiment that made him more powerful. But he's got these incredible powers, and he lives in fear of people fearing him because he's so powerful. And he lives in his entire life as an absolute servant to the people. Like, I have to be there every single time they need anything. This power is for them. It is theirs. Like, it has to be, I'm just the vessel that the power lives in. So maybe because we read that, I was thinking about that maybe in these guys' heads. And I think Lamar Hoskins' heart is in the right place. I think John Walker definitely has ego problems. I think he's definitely entranced by the power of it, but I think that's true of him too. He does want to help people. The fact that people die does weigh on him. Like he
wants to help. He wants to be there, but I think he's looking for answers in the wrong place, right? He thinks the serum is going to be the thing that truly makes him Captain America. And we see the first thing that happens after he takes the serum, which is off screen, by the way, which I was kind of disappointed by. And I thought the reveal of that, like that fight scene, wasn't necessarily as big of an oh shit moment as it maybe should have been.
Also, I don't think we've seen, maybe we did a couple episodes ago and I forgot it, like exactly how this current super soldier serum works. Like, he had to have gotten like some big syringe from somewhere. Like, do you have a recovery period? I was surprised that he seemed okay.
He drank it, put it in his Pepsi or something.
Who knows? Yeah, I was surprised that he would seem normal that quickly after this happening to him.
Well, that was the thing. Dr. Nagel, right, was his name, right? I'm assuming this is the formula he was working on, which he said was much more subtle, much more like, right, you're not going to have some like moment your like muscles start bulging, right? Like it is going to be a much more subtle thing. So we don't know exactly when he took it, but we know that by time that fight scene happens, that he has taken it. And I didn't catch on until he kicked the guy out the room and was like, oh, he absolutely is a lot stronger than he should be.
Yeah.
That's no good. He must have taken that serum. But I think he took that thinking that would make everything right, or that not necessarily right, but it would give him the ability to make things better. And immediately when he does that, his sidekick gets killed, and then he ends up murking someone right in the middle of town with everyone watching and filming. And it's a harrowing scene. And I think also one of the first scenes in the MCU where we really see blood. Like there's not very many scenes where stuff is bloody, which has been kind of crazy to think about. And then
we've had like our fair share of cuts and bruises. Everybody just sort of looks mottled and speckled, but it's not like, oh, that's dripping amounts of blood.
Yeah, right, exactly. And we see this great shot of John Walker with the shield, and it just drenched in blood. That whole bottom half where he stabbed them, and it's a beautiful shot, but it's scary, and it's just like oh no, what has this guy done? Like what just imagine what is going through his mind at that moment right there. There has to be just a million things.
Yeah, because something about John Walker that I think makes him really interesting to me is that he has a lot of ego problems, and he about like, which I mean by like he's kind of boastful. He wants people to think highly of him. But you can tell he doesn't necessarily think highly of himself. He there's a scene where when Sam goes to talk to Karli and they're just like hanging out waiting to see how that goes. He's like muttering and like staring at his hands. Like he looks very frustrated with himself. He's definitely impatient. That's one of his vices. He's always trying to like get to the next, like he wants it done already. He's like, I want to be Captain America in like full legacy and respect already. Give me that super soldier serum. How fast can I get there? He's impatient with himself. He does not like the process of doing anything. And he does seem like somebody who's very troubled by, why am I not where I want to be? He seems upset with himself continually in like these very small, subtle ways.
Yeah.
And I know he knows I've screwed up, but he's on autopilot. Like he can't turn back. Like he's stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He keeps screwing up, but I think in some degree in the back of his head, he's like, this isn't working. Why isn't this working? Why can't I make this work?
He views it as a chance to make things right. And I think it goes back to the conversation when he asked, like, hey, if you had this serum, would you take it? There's another thing they mention in there. They mention like his medals, since he's a war hero. But he responds to that conversation by being like, you know what we had to do in those things. And he makes it seem like they did some really shady stuff. They had to make some very questionable choices, and it sounds like he made them and maybe was very traumatized by them.
Yeah, says something very striking, which is that he's like, yeah, I have 3 medals to remember the 3 worst days of my life.
Yeah. Which is a scary thing to think about, and would maybe make him seem like he would deny that. Like, hey, I don't want to be the Captain America after what I've already been through. Like, I don't want to go through all of that stuff again. But no, he feels like he has a responsibility, I think, to himself to fix that and make it right and to atone. And so I think what you've been hoping for in this like tragic, relatable character, that like, hey, maybe he can have this redemption. I think there is some things in there that maybe you can see, but he keeps stepping in shit. Right?
Yeah. And like redemption, that's not necessary. I think we may be past redemption, but what I want to see is course correction. It means a lot to me to have characters who screw up, who make terrible mistakes, who are doing bad things, and they figure out, I have done bad things. I should not do that.
Yeah.
What can I do differently? Can I do better? And maybe it never gets to good, but it's better. And that's something. I put a lot of value in small progress, little bits of correcting yourself, just being better than the person you were yesterday.
So where do you think he goes next? Because I think the moment that Battlestar got killed, I think is the thing that made him snap, right? That made him then go out and hunt this guy down and kill him in the middle of the square.
Which is...
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, like, for a character who we've seen have so much problems with ego and anger, it's a nice touch that came out of love for his friend. You know, like he wasn't killing somebody because they attacked him or made him look bad or something. Like he's doing the worst thing he can. He's extremely angry, but I don't know. There were a dozen different motivating forces they could have picked to get to that scene.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that it's the death of a loved one is what they picked.
I think in the comics, it's the death of his family. That was what makes him snap and then go into his super patriot moniker and go from there. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen next, because I don't know if he like I said at the start, he's not supposed to be there. They're they're going off books. He took the serum. His partner got killed. He murdered someone. That's going to be an international kerfluffle. Right? I don't know how the U.S. government is going to react. They could absolutely spin this as yep, and that's how we deal with terrorists, which would be very scary.
I don't think that they would.
Well,
I mean,
it's kind of what we do right now. But...
I apologize. I apologize for the troubles deeply and sincerely. But I'll do better. I'll make sure everybody's better. But
I don't think that will work. But yeah,
golly, I'll try harder.
I don't know. They could go the opposite direction, and Captain America needs to turn himself in. This is a whole thing. We need to do an investigation. What was happening here? What was going on? And we still don't know exactly how the power broker factor. We don't know who the power broker is yet. There's still some things here, and we know number 5. There's going to be some kind of cameo in this. We don't know who it is. It's supposed to be an emotional one, so I think things are about to hit the fan in number 5.
I think they have. I was sorry to see Battlestar go.
Yeah, that sucked.
We didn't get to know him that well, but
I kind of liked him. I don't like that he was there supporting him, supporting the new Captain America, because it's come on,
he's
dude.
working
you know,
on him.
Yeah, he's trying to be his conscience. of just like, hey man, that might not be the best of ideas there, and then to see him go, it's like, that sucks. Like he's actually likable. So,
and like, I don't know anything about the comic book history. I know he is a guy from the comic books. I don't know if he had a long career after that, or if this is like, no, that guy always died. But I guess I could have seen it coming. Like something I was excited about last week is that we met two really cool characters who died like 5 minutes later. After one scene, they did not get to leave the rooms in which we first met them.
Indeed,
yeah. I guess maybe that's this show's MO. Maybe this is just a show with a high body count.
Yeah, seems like it indeed. I think that about wraps us up for this reaction to episode 4. Do you have one last thing?
No, I just want to shout out how much I love the locations in this show. I might have mentioned this earlier, but every set piece is so great looking. I love Zemo's apartment that they go to. I love whatever that building is where they're trying to talk to Karli. I love this European city street that they're on. Whoever the location scouts are for this series, great job. I love it. And the music really killed it in this episode. Like the entire last 10 minutes of the show has this like very tense, like droning section of music. Oh, very effective.
It's good indeed.
Yeah,
indeed. Let's see. I want to give a shout out. We have done some trailer reactions this past week to Space Jam, Black Widow, and the new Loki trailer. So be sure to go check those out. Those are only on YouTube right now. We're hoping to get at least one more of those in the can, and then I'm hoping to stitch those together as a podcast. So you guys can go check that out here on the Reactor Corps feed, where you guys get your podcasts. But with that, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WilkyWit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities.
Go. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. If you guys want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. Let's go like, share, subscribe. You guys know the deal with all of that. And if you want to throw us a couple bucks, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. We do have a $3 tier with all kinds of exclusives and stuff like that. And a big shout out to Sam, who is at our $5 tier. Sam, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you for supporting us for so long. Yeah. With that, though, I think we will get out of here. We will be back next week. If you are sticking around on Twitch, we are about to do the Captain's Log. But with that, we will be back next week. Bye.
Bye.